Hey YouTube, JP Dillon. So upon request, we're going to do a part 3 of the Kenwood ka-8150. We've got everything on it working well. The case was a little ratty, so I hit it with some 120 and 180 and 320 and 600 grit and then painted it. So I'll show that to you at the end of the video. But really what we're looking at right now is the horrible crusties that appear around the buttons. You can kind of see that there, maybe a little bit. The green mung, I guess, is the way you can call it. You can see it down here on the switches and stuff. This is a function of living near the beach, and it just doesn't look very good. Maybe if we kill the lights here, you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, not so much. The light does it a better job, but we're going to see if we can't get rid of that today. And there's a couple of ways to do that, but the way that I typically do it without destroying the faceplate is just with a Q-tip and some anti-corrosive chemical like Deox or Fader lube, and then a very, very fine wire brush, very carefully applied, usually with a Dremel or something like that. So let's go ahead and get the faceplate apart. The knobs are fairly simple, they just kind of pull off here, likewise with the little switch cover things. The volume control needs a 2mm hex, which is available through that hole there, which we'll get out. And then there are 3 flat-headed screws on the top, and I believe 3 more or 4 more on the bottom. Looks like 2 actually. So let's get the faceplate off and proceed from there. Alright, now if you've gotten to this point and you're hanging up, here's why. Underneath here, it's hard to see, the camera will maybe focus on it, I'm not sure. See the LED underneath there? That's your power indicator. See how that's clipped in? You need to get a little tiny screwdriver and release one side of the clip so that the LED can pop out of its socket. Otherwise you're not getting this up. So just thought I'd share that with you so you don't destroy the power indicator as you're taking the faceplate off. Oh, and by the way, I was mistaken. It's not a 2mm. It's a 1.5mm Allen key to get the volume and balance knob off. Alright, so we got the faceplate off. Now there's a couple of ways that you can attack the little switch cover things. If you're very careful, you can get a very fine tipped X-Acto and you can scrape off the layer of crust that's up top. And for the most part that does work. It requires a lot of patience. It's a pain in the ass. But if you're worried about chemicals and stuff like that, you can do that. And as you can see, if you look at the part that I've scraped up here versus the part I haven't scraped, the barnacles are still there. And if we just get in it with a knife, you can see that it does clean it up a little bit. And if you just take a lot of time and you're persistent, you can clean it up that way. But most people don't want to spend their life scraping away barnacles unless for some reason you just have a lot of time on your hands. I don't really. So let me show you the alternative method. It has to do with anti-corrosives and a very fine wire brush. Okay, so Keg Deox, it makes this D5P, which is a concentrated version of the D5 spray, and it's in a pump form, and the little pump nozzle usually goes missing along with the straw, which pisses me off, but that's another matter. So what I will do is just take a Q-tip and apply some of that D5P to the Q-tip, and then we'll swab it on the switches here and let it sit up a little bit. I don't spray it directly on the thing, obviously, because it might hurt the silk screening or the finish. So I'm going to put the camera down, wet my Q-tip, and then we'll apply it to this tone defeat switch here, and then we'll go to the next step. So there's my Q-tip, and we're just going to apply this all over the switch cover. Try to avoid getting the lettering. And we'll let that sit up a minute. Now, as far as getting it off, I have your classic Dremel variable speed and a very fine, soft wire brush. This wire brush is very, very soft. It gives very easy. And we're going to use as little as pressure as possible and the lowest speed as possible to try to clean this up and polish it. So if you got headphones on, turn down the volume now. This will probably get loud and obnoxious. And I'm literally just resting it on the switch surface. And I never stay in one spot too long. I always keep it moving. And if you're changing positions, always move it away from the faceplate so you don't scar the faceplate. I'm going to do the sides here. Like I said, always keep it moving. Never stay in one spot or you'll scar whatever you're working with. And I know it looks like I'm marking up the faceplate right now, but that's just the deox. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the brush by itself does not take care of the really heavy barnacles, which is what the scraping method is for. So you can scrape first if it's got really heavy deposits like this one, and then hit it with the brush to polish it. So the power switch is just scraping alone, and this is just the brush alone. So the one next to it, we're going to do both the scraping method and the brush method, and you'll see how clean and shiny it turns out. So let's go ahead and begin by scraping the excess off of this switch cover. I'm just doing this to show you the different degrees of cleanliness that the method's used. Now this will be your equipment, so you can do whatever you want with it. Just be very careful, go really slow. The little heavy bits of corrosive deposit you'll probably have to clean off with the X-Acto like I'm doing here. Don't apply too much pressure, just let the sharp blade do its job. And you know what? It's a beach machine. It's never going to be perfect. Just remember that. You can make it better, but it's never going to be perfect. And then let's go along the side here. Notice how I'm angling the blade so that I don't scar anything. You don't want to gouge this. That'll just create more problems for you. You can see all that corrosion that comes off. Pretty impressive. And since the camera doesn't do a good job of showing that, let's add some light to it. You can really see it now. Trying to stay away from the faceplate so we don't scratch it. You really can see the varying degrees of crustiness between the ones that we've already fixed and the ones that we haven't. You can see the brush definitely takes away the fine green stuff, but not the heavy stuff. The scraping takes away the heavy stuff, but not the fine stuff. Detail work takes time, a lot of patience. Figure we do this in real time so you can see it in real time. If you're using the HTML5 player on your computer, you can play this at higher speeds and it goes through this somewhat quicker. Alright. Let's just turn the light off momentarily. And I'm going to go ahead and wet my Q-tip again. And we're going to get this good and damp. And then we'll go on it with the wire brush. So turn down your volume. Alright, so let's go grab a towel and wipe off the deoxit and you can see the difference. Okay, well here it is. Let's get the light on it so you can really see the differences. So the one on the left that we just scraped the top up with a knife looks okay, still got some crusties in it. And I didn't do the sides obviously, so that really isn't a great judge of abilities. The second one here was just done with the deox and the wire brush, and it cleaned it up, but you can see the heavy barnacles there aren't really good. And I did do the sides on that one. The third one is the combination of scraping and deox and wire brush, and you can see that that one doesn't have much stuff left on it except in the groove and the really heavy duty stuff. If you compare it to one that's untreated, that looks pretty good. That ain't going to win any show awards, but definitely from 5 feet it sure looks a whole hell of a lot better. So what I'm going to do on this one is we're going to do the scrape and brush method on the remainder of these. On these filter buttons up here, you can't really do the scrape all that much unless you're really careful, because you will very likely chooch up the faceplate since they sit so close together. And you can see they're hot glued in. If you're really careful, you can unglue these and take them out and do them that way. Likewise with these, you can unglue them and take them out, but my experience with these is that when you try to unglue them and take them out, the old brittle plastic just breaks anyways. You may wish to do that and just take them out and take your chances. But I'm going to very carefully go around these. And basically it's the same kind of thing as you just scrape the surfaces until you can get all the barnacles off. Use the deoxit on them and then brush them out. So to alleviate time, I'm going to stop here and do the rest of the machine. And then what we'll do is we'll get it all back together and you can see it with the new fancy cover on it. As far as cleaning the knobs, there's a number of ways to do that. If you've just got average stuff, Windex and a toothbrush will get most of the scuzz out of here. If you've got one of those jewelry ultrasonic cleaners, that works really well too. That's what I've got. I'm just going to sink them all in an ultrasonic bath filled with Windex, and that usually takes care of them. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up the rest of this faceplate. We'll get it back on the machine, clean the knobs, put it all together, and then you can see how pretty it looks. Well, well, well. Look at how pretty this turned out. We got everything, all the knobs out of the ultrasonic cleaner. It looks really pretty. And for the most part, all the corrosion is gone. Got a couple little specks here and there where it really got eaten up. The knob facings came out really good looking. That was a lot more work than I thought. But everything's really pretty. And the ultrasonic cleaner and some Windex really makes those knobs pop. We got the cover all redone. Like I said, just persistence with starting at 120, 180, 320, and 600. And then I just used some Rust-Oleum 2X primer and paint stuff all in one kind of a thing. This thing turned out real nice. So, I hope this has been useful to you in cleaning the barnacles off of your beach disease machine if you've got one. So there it is, all finished. ka-8150, which is basically a dark face 8100. And I think I'm going to enjoy this one for a while, and then maybe it'll find a new home. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. More stuff to come soon.